Warm welcome to Ali Simnad, an expert of the Silicon Valley, CTO of many, many companies. He's worked at Nvidia, Veritas, Micron, and multiple startups with exits. And today, he's the CTO of a professional services company with about 4,500 employees, if I remember well, that is actually in charge of facilitating AI digital transformation at companies in the Silicon Valley. Thank you for being here, Ali. This is my pleasure. Today, I will let you explain to us a little bit more about your story of origin, what got you here, and then we'll take it from there.
First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. And
Likewise.
yeah, it's been a journey for me, starting at a little company called Nvidia about 20 some years ago, and then going through what I call the food chain from semiconductor on systems into infrastructure, into SaaS, and then into AI the past few years. So it's been quite a journey. I've been in Silicon Valley more than 26 years. Wow, time flies. And I have seen it. And I can tell you, with all uncertainty that we have with AI, all the job losses and everything we see, I think this is the most exciting time if you are in tech, because we are witnessing something that maybe happens once in 100 years.
And more probably. Yes. Okay. Wonderful. So you are the experts, obviously, of the subject. You are the heart of where things happen. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your life today. At the helm of the chief technology officer seat. In this company of 4,500 employees. What do you see? I mean, you told me incredible things in terms of timeline, the way you think. The afternoon feels too far away. Sometimes you told me we need to think now. So tell me more about this.
So, first of all, let me start. You called me the expert. The joke I have with AI, because AI is moving so fast, is that there are two kinds of people: those who don't understand AI, and those who know that they don't understand AI. I am the second part. I know that I don't understand it because this is such a fast moving. And by the way, I'm representing myself here. So whatever I say is a personal view. I'm not representing any organization, company's view here. But what I see is certain skills. I think this is a pivotal change. Certain skills, more specifically coding, that till not too long ago was such a valuable skills, its value is diminishing. What is becoming more important is be able to be more of a workflow manager, be able to architect, be able to innovate. And that also impacts my job as well. I'm coming from the product side. I build products, and the speed, the methodology, all those things are going to are changing actually. So as I said, we are going through many changes and nobody knows. And let me put it very upfront. Anybody who thinks they know what happens in the next 2, 3 years, they're fooling themselves. We are going through changes. The market hasn't settled down in terms of who's going to be the leading LLM, who's going to be the leading provider of content, inference, and those kind of things. So, and that impacts my job. Part of my job is betting. You need to bet on certain technology. You need to bet on certain partnership, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And one of the things I think really makes Silicon Valley an exception is not being afraid of making mistakes. I see that more and more as part of the DNA of Silicon Valley. You try things and you fail, and that is a badge of honor. So going back to your question, again, maybe I went a little bit in a different direction, is that people like in my position, in my role, and pretty much anybody who is in tech these days, we are going through a massive transformation. There is no roadmap for it. We are building the roadmap as we go. And through that journey, we will make mistakes. And if you don't make mistakes in that journey, means you're not pushing hard, means you're not a leader, you are a follower, and you don't want to be followed. So my job is to bet, predict the future, make mistakes. That's the key thing. But along the way, learn from those mistakes and take it to the next level.
Tell us a little bit about two things. So you have to predict the future, which is a big one. So what are your indicators? What do you follow?
So there are multiple areas that I need to look. I need to look what are the market and technology trends are. What are the new tools, new technologies coming? I need to look at the competitive landscape. See who are my competitors, what they do right, what they do wrong, what I can learn. talk with your customers, with your end users. And that's the key thing. But there is also a technique in talking to your customers. I call it doctor-patient relationship. When you go to a doctor, you don't go and say, "Give me this prescription because this is diagnosis." The doctor asks questions, run tests, exams, and based on the doctor's experience and education, come with prescription. People like me is the same thing. We don't go to a customer and say, "Tell me what you want." The common example is you probably wouldn't get the iPhone if you ask people. Or Jensen had from Nvidia CEO has said many times they went against what the customers are asking. You have to be careful. But the thing is that you need to understand their challenges, their goals and objectives when you are getting customer feedback. It's not just tell me what you want and I build it for you. So you get all those three things, and then you have to come internally and see what is your corporate goal. And by corporate goal, everybody says, we want to make money. Yeah, but it depends on where you are in the journey of your company. If you're a small startup at the beginning, you want to be more, excuse me, you want to be more of a thought leadership. If you're more mature, you want to increase your revenue, or you want to go after the competition, or you want to increase market share. And these are not sometimes mutually exclusive. That goals tells you what would be your roadmap. A roadmap for a thought leadership is different than a roadmap for if you want to increase your revenue. For revenue, you need to deliver this month and people are willing to buy. So you have to coordinate, and so you have to juggle all those things. And then how many resources you have. This has been more of a traditional. What I see the change is that because the cost, let's call it, coming with features is going down with the AI tools. Now you can spin more products at a faster rate and lower cost than before.
Sure.
Now understanding the future, be able to predict the future and come up with what customers are actually looking for, sometimes even if they don't know, that is becoming the key thing. And that is becoming what the focus should be. Because not just adding features is becoming kind of universal among all the vendors.
Sure. So does it change the way you think architecture and the way you choose the technology that you will, use to build the product? Because if it needs to be evolving so fast, is adaptive technology a word that makes sense?
Yes and no. Yes is that the fundamentals never change. You need to build a product that is secure. You need to build a product that is scalable. You need to build a product that you can integrate with your partners and in an ecosystem. They never go away. But how you do it is changing. Because now as a product manager, you have an idea about a product. You can use tools and get the product done in a few hours. That before that, you have to go and talk to your engineers, spend a few weeks, come up with a prototype. Now you can have that prototype to share with customers, with partners in a matter of hours rather than weeks and months. Even Agile is changing. Agile methodology that has been the past 20 years, the fundamental of product development, that is not changing. The MVP is changing. So all those things that we have been get used to it is changing. And I don't think has settled down. Again, this is the key. Nobody can tell what is going to happen. And anybody who believes they know it, they don't.
Yeah. Good. So we talked about the technology. Why don't we talk about the people? Okay. So without, diving too much into your company, but I know that you work for a company that has thousands of people. And I'm sure your group, being a professional services for the tech industry, the CTO group must have a lot of people under you, so in that group. So how do you get people to change mindset and radically, approach? You sit above, so you have time to look afar, and reflect. But those people who are in the grind, of coming up with new solutions within a few hours, how do you get them to change behaviors?
So first of all, if anybody thinks that they're sitting above, that's a problem. I believe in a less of a hierarchy and more. So I tell my team sometimes, you are in charge of this project, so I work for you. You tell me what you need, and I'm your advisor. So but everything goes back to culture. There is a lot of, among the people, there is a lot of uncertainty. Am I losing my job? Is the AI replacing me? And sometimes yes, sometimes no. So build a strong culture that beats it. That's the most important. And when I bring the word culture, sometimes people think, no, we don't have group hugs in the morning. But the culture is about innovation. It's
Mhm.
about not being afraid of making mistakes. It's about how do you deal with your colleagues, customers, and how do you go after your competition. So what we see with AI, there is fear, uncertainty, and that's where the best time to create a solid culture that you can attack those kind of things.
Mm.
Certain job would go away, but how do you train some of those people to be able to take new jobs? And this is not the first time in history that we see.
Sure.
One example I use is if you go back in the 40s, there was these switchboards that they were all women sitting, and you pick up the phone and they
But
use the wire to connect people. Then the electronic relay came and those jobs gone away. Never come back. They will never come. That relay really became electronics, became the foundation of the computer, and then new jobs, IT jobs came. When we got these smartphones a few years, 20 some years ago, before that, nobody knew about app developers. So what I'm trying to say is that you also make sure you need to see that certain jobs will go away, but there would be new jobs created that because of our lack of imagination at this moment, we don't know what those jobs are.
mm,
Make sure that you build that culture that you can train for those jobs as soon as there is some kind of a light and visibility of those
mm,
jobs are, so you can move your people to that. At the end of the day, your culture wins above and beyond anything else.
yeah. So culture, uncertainty, upskilling, right? Would
Make
you?
sure that you're at the top of the technology,
Mhm.
sure that you have training, constant training. And
Mm.
this is more than ever. And I was talking with the industry experts a few days ago at an event and was saying everything. I mean, how can I keep up with,
Yeah,
and you can keep up with everything. You
yeah, yeah.
have also find what I call a T. You need to know certain things about, area, but then you have to have an area of expertise. So my advice is have an area of expertise. While that is not the only thing you offer, you also have general understanding of what's going
Uh-huh. What
on.
was it? How do you qualify this expertise? I did not understand the word.
So there is this thing they call it, are you an I or you're a T? I means that you're really expert in one area, real deep.
Got it.
That's the area you know. T means there are certain areas that you have some understanding, but not that deep.
Yeah,
And there is one area that you're really expert in it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
my advice is that what I see, because AI is now can provide a lot of the expertise, make sure that you're not pigeonholed in one area and one area only. You have several expertise, maybe not as deep, but
Yeah,
several expertise.
yeah.
But there is also one area that you are an expert. I see that um,
Layout.
it would be a hedge for the future. Again, nobody knows, things can change, but
Mhm.
I see that you're not just a one show pony. There is not one area that you know and nothing else. You need to understand
Yeah,
several, again, related. Let me make an example: computer vision and natural language processing. Those are all AI. These are similar, so you need to have some understanding of those. But one that you go deep, that you are the expert, and everybody has to come.
understood. So we talked about tech. You spoke about culture and uncertainty. Kinsey, in the new edition of its book Rewired, published by Wiley, says for $1 in tech, multiple dollars in change in people. So that speaks to what you were saying, training, training, training. Can you tell us a little bit what defines a healthy culture in this fast AI powered world?
So Google did a research a few years ago on why certain teams are successful, deliver, and certain not. They call it a psychological safety. And I've tried that. That means that if people are comfortable to be the voice of dissent,
Mhm.
and this is what I tell my team, if the 10 of us sitting in a meeting and 9 of us like solution A, you are the only one who likes solution B. I
Mhm.
don't want you to feel comfortable. I want you to feel obligated that you
Mhm.
stand and say, you nine are wrong, solution B is better. Again, not based on opinion, bring me data, bring and have an argument, not discussion, argument. And nobody look at you differently because you have a different view. That's the psychological safety in my
Mhm.
book. So a team that foster dissent, encourage people to bring different opinions, and
Mhm.
you feel comfortable and obligated. And after all the discussion is done, then you focus on execution and execution and execution.
Mhm.
We have to have a discussion, healthy debate, discussion, argument. But after that done, then you need to switch into the execution. To
Yeah.
me, these are the key, what I've seen successful teams that you feel comfortable of opinion and different ideas, and then you're good at executing that. That's the winning culture.
Yeah. I have a question for you. I've seen a few transformations in the past 20 years with clients, and I see people being the idea of people, often an afterthought of the transformation. It starts with a vision, a strategy, and okay, you get the number, you get the idea. And then when they think about people, they still think as people as a homogeneous one. We love the idea that we're all one, but there are different styles and people who fit in those processes like Scrum and design thinking, etc., in different seats. Would you think, in your observation, that a platform that could help acculturation to this new environment of uncertainty and speed and still the staples of execution and the psychological safety that were customized more to the different thinking styles and working styles? Do you think that's something that would be a lever? And have you seen that work out anywhere?
I think you brought a very important point. One size doesn't fit all. I remember in the old days when I was doing programming, there were certain people who were introvert. They were the best programmers. Put them at the corner, let them code, don't talk to them. They don't want to be talked to people. If you take that person, and I've seen that, you take that person and make him a people manager, is like the worst punishment you can do to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there are other people who, like me, I didn't want to sit just write code. I like to interact with people. But if you put me in that corner and close the door and say, just write me code, I go insane. Well, I'm insane anyhow, but I go even more insane. So you need, as a manager, you need to find what is the strength and weaknesses of your people and find what is the right
Fit.
approach for that. So what I sometimes do is I create a career roadmap for people. So you come and say, I want to be a manager, I want to be a director, I want to be, that, or I want to be, no, I want to be individual contributor, but I want to go really technical. So it's a good idea to, for every employee, the same way we have a roadmap for our products, create a career roadmap that you are here, you have 5 years of experience. If you want to be manager, you need to take these actions and you have to show these results. After that, you be a manager. Or if you want to take your career in this direction, I'm a software engineer, I want to move to product management. Okay, if you want to do that, these are the things you need to do. That would help because, as you mentioned, people have different interests, objectives, and personality. Not
Yes.
everybody likes to be in front of people. Not everybody likes to be in a corner. As I said, I've seen so many in 2 areas, software engineers and salespeople. Some are the best software engineers, the best salespeople. Make them to manager, they just be miserable because that's not part of their personality.
Good, good. So what would be a good screening of people if you were given that tool?
Right. So that's the most difficult thing because people are, as you mentioned, are not homogeneous, different interests, and even changes. If years ago you were hired to do, X, and for whatever reason now you want to do Y. There is another thing when sometimes talk about that roadmap. There has been time that I say, you know what, you better leave the organization, not in a bad way, but if you want to go to that other level, there is no opening here and it's not for the next 2-3 years. So be aware of that. And my suggestion is find a different job. Number one, let's be honest with people. The second thing is that, and it is a two-way. You as a business need certain skills and certain talent. You as a business, that requirement changes during the time and is a natural thing. So the idea that you bring people and then let them go in a professional way, again, I might sound a little bit heartless, sometimes is the best thing you can do to them.
Yeah.
Again, profession, not that just pick up the phone and say, hey, you're fired, right? But you have to have a path that, you know what, we are changing as an organization. Can you change with us? Yes, no. Or do you want to change with us? That's another. People might come and say, no,
Of course.
I don't want to go that direction. I want to be here. Then you have to say, and something in the cell. I stayed in one company for about 7 years, and I was getting all this thing that what's wrong with you? Why are you staying there for 7 years? So what we see in Silicon Valley, which is very, very Silicon Valley, in my opinion, is that 2-3 years tops. If you stay in one place for too long, you get a different vibe and totally different. My wife is in the same job for 19 years and people say, wow, she's the newcomer in that company because she's in healthcare. There are people who've been there for 35 years. What I'm trying to say is that changing job based on your personal preference and the company's change should be part of your career plan. Don't
Yeah.
expect to go, this is not the old IBM. You go there, work there for 30 years, get a watch and
Yeah.
have a pension.
Yeah.
Especially in Silicon Valley, we are becoming more and more of the geek workers than anything else.
A couple more questions. You were mentioning your execution remains execution, right? So, and agile execution. So, what kind of tools have you seen that you've worked with that you saw really delivering numbers and delivering solutions? So, I'm talking about Scrum, just to give one, or in agile, execution and sprints. I've seen design thinking. So, what do you think of those tools? And yeah, which ones have you used that you've seen most success, bring you most success?
So I did one of my master degrees was in system management on system design. And I have been a practitioner of Agile, but the first thing I see, I'm not an Agile purist.
Mm,
What that means is that Agile has a book called Manifesto, actually, right? I don't follow that. To me, is that Agile is not just a methodology, it's a culture. Be flexible, be agile, be able to react to reality of customer internal changes, competitive pressure, and so forth. So to me, don't pigeonhole yourself into a specific school of thoughts or
mm,
even a methodology. Get the idea and then customize it based on your organization. Look
mm,
at the talent you have, look at the corporate goals you have, look at your business objectives. Build your own agile. Don't go and cut and paste the agile methodology. Agile, I love it. I used it. It's going to change, but I've never been a purist in a sense that, or design thinking. They all have good ideas, but don't go and cut and paste and
mm,
try to force it in your organization. It should be the other way. See what needs you have, then look at these tools, these methodologies, these ideas, and see how can you customize it. That's the key. How
mm,
can you customize those based on your custom corporate needs? And
mm,
one of the words I use, I hate the word process. To me, process means rigid, you follow. I call it best practices because best practice means you do what makes sense at that particular point for your team. That's the practice. And product management, for example, is a practice because each case is different than another.
yeah.
Going back to your question, understand, learn all those tools, methodologies, but do not cut and paste it. Build your own custom version. Constantly change it. The key is constant change. Funny story to tell about, the first time I wanted to, not naming any company, the first time I wanted ship a SaaS, and they were saying, we can't do it because you have to pay the whole thing up front. But this is a SaaS. You go based on subscription. So the joke I had is we always ship regular camera. Now we want to ship digital camera. And the operation was saying, where is the film for it?
Mm.
It's digital. Yeah, but we never ship the camera without a film. So you get sometimes into, if it's a process, it's rigid, but best practices, you change it as your needs changes.
You have so much wealth of knowledge. So I have two more questions for you, and then we'll be, thank you for your time. You've heard about those stealth organizations like the garage at IBM and Microsoft, where people, work for free with their customers and co-innovate all the way to MVP. And then when there's an MVP, then starts the business relationship with compensation. And I've worked with IBM as clients, and I've seen people who are in the garage behaving, and in terms of our assessment, seeing that their profile is very different than your typical IBMers. Very different, very different. Consistent, actually, consistently so across lots of people. So why do you see so few garages actually being implemented in organizations?
My short answer is I don't know. If I want to expand on that is because there are a couple of reasons I can think of it. One, if you are a big company like IBM and you're working on a startup concept or a concept, let's say you are a $50 billion company.
Uh-huh.
Some of these little ideas might create the first 2, 3 years, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, which if you are a startup, if you generate revenue of 20 million in 2, 3 years, you're a
Yeah.
startup. But if you're a $50 billion company and that 20 million, even if 50 million is a noise in your uh, revenue, the executive staff is like, why am I spending time with you? I have a $50 million, billion dollar business. $50 million business is just doesn't worth my time, right? Which is a short side because that 50 million might be a 50 billion if you cultivate it. I think part of that is the lack of understanding how innovation works. And remember, the big companies, we talk about, there are some exceptions. Nvidia is an exception, by the way. Their idea is on cost reduction. A startup is on innovation.
Yeah.
When you have a big company that all things about cutting costs, and you want to put innovation, it doesn't work sometimes.
Yeah.
You have to have it separate, but then you need to feed that. And sometimes the executives, as I said, you are going to is a risky business. The customers might give you promises, but nothing come. But those are really small revenue in compared with big. For lack of vision, I think, and imagination,
Yeah.
they are missing the opportunity of that innovation business. That's my guess.
Yeah. Understood. Understood. Um, Thank you. Last question. I'm giving you a magic wand. You can wave it within your circle of influence. Okay, so not the interest rate at the Fed. Okay, but what you can do within your. But you don't have the time. You don't have whatever it's in the way. What is it that you would change tomorrow morning immediately?
That's the question I usually ask in job interviews, by the way. To me, if I have something magical and tomorrow is how AI actually would end up in software development. Let's make it specific, not let's go to everything. But how AI, if I if I could see in 3 to 5 years, if I have that crystal ball using my magic wand, if I look at this and I can see 5 years from today, what are the fundamental changes done into developing products? That's to me is what I wanted to know. Because in one hand, it's like I'm watching the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as exciting as the game it is, my heart is pounding. I want to know before the game finishes, who won the game. Some people like the excitement. Don't get me wrong. I like the excitement, but I wanted to know who won I can then sit back and enjoy watching the game, but I want to know who won the game. So
Uh-huh.
to me is that what would look like this ecosystem of technology that we live here. And Silicon Valley, again, I don't want to be too much of full of myself and Silicon Valley thing, but what it represent, how it look like in 5 years.
And do you feel there are some people who are closer to that knowledge today than others? Would you have names?
I don't like to usually name names, but I think one person that I think, and is going to be no surprise to anybody, that really gets it more than anybody else is Jensen Huang of Nvidia CEO.
Mm.
His betting was, CUDA was what, 2002. Don't quote me on that. That's what I remember from my memory. That was a bet, I think. So look at that company. They know how to get things done.
At scale. Yeah. Yeah.
And then execution, I think from my years over there, the number one thing was how they focus on execution than anything else. But others, it's hard. If you look at our business, usually the winners take all. If you look at search, remember there were so many, Google came out. Usually have what we call a gorilla and two monkeys. Remember databases was Oracle, Sybase, and info something, Infosys, I think. Now there is Oracle. So the winners look at the GPU is Nvidia. So now we look at these LLMs and the big, players in AI. My guess is that you would see one dominant and two small players. Everybody else would be out. That's what.
Well, thank you very much, Ali. It was quite instructive and very, very exciting to hear you. There's a lot coming up, right? There's a lot of changes and a lot
Oh,
to.
thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for everything.
And likewise, you're very welcome, Ali. Thank you.